Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC 175, Weidman versus Machida, which happens on July 5th. Overall, good card. If it had that like Sonnen versus Vanderlei and or Sonnen versus Vitor, I'd say it's a great card. I think it's kind of telling though what kind of card it is when, like, no offense to Russell Doane and Marcus Brimage, but like on the main card, I mean, it can't be that stacked. You know what I mean? This fight card's pretty much built on like two fights. You know, Weidman versus Machida, Rousey versus Davis. The other fights are good, but they're not like, you know, Struve versus Mitrione is a good fight. It's nice to see Uriah Hall, I guess. Got two. I say I guess because he's so hot and cold, you know what I mean? Got two prospects in Brimage versus Doane, which isn't bad. You know, they're good fight. You got good fighters, you know. On the prelims, you have Caceres versus Faber, which is a really good fight. Some of these other fights could be grinders, you know, because you got guys like Alcantara. Ildemar, Alcantara's a grinder. He has a grinding style of fighting. Same with Bruno Santos. So it's tough to say how those will go. Let's just get started. Got Chris Weidman versus Lyoto Machida for the UFC middleweight title. Well, Chris Weidman has an 11-0 undefeated record, most well known for defeating Anderson Silva twice. 5 wins by KO, 3 wins by sub. He's 30 years old, training out of Serra-Longo. He is the UFC middleweight champion and a very strong wrestler. He really times his takedowns really well, especially snatching singles, man. That guy's just like, grabs a single and the guy's down. I mean, it's really quick. He has really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His front chokes especially are really good. You know, tapped out like Tom Lawler at the front choke. But even in the jiu-jitsu circuit, he went up against Andre Galvao, and he lost, but he did really well against him. So even in the jiu-jitsu circuit, you know, Chris Weidman was doing really well. He has good ground and pound, and his overall top control is good. And he's primarily a boxer. I mean, yeah, he threw the elbow against Mark Munoz and whatnot, but for the most part, what I've seen, he tends to show more hands than anything else. And he's good there, you know. He has solid, you know, he's not like the greatest striker or anything like that, but he's definitely solid. Lyoto Machida, 21-4 record, 8 wins by KO, 2 wins by sub. He's 36 years old on a 2-fight win streak, knocking out Mark Munoz and then beating Gegard Mousasi. He's a former UFC light heavyweight champion with a karate-style stand-up. Really good defense. He's just a guy that's generally hard to hit clean. He's very accurate with his strikes. He moves well. He's elusive, you know. His takedown defense is solid. Some of the better takedown defense in the higher weight classes. And his grappling is actually pretty underrated, you know. I mean, he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He doesn't show it too much because he tends to keep the fight on the feet, but his grappling's not too bad. This is an interesting fight. I want to say that Machida's gonna be better in the stand-up. Now, there's a couple things with Machida too. Like sometimes there's like, I guess, like a boring Machida, you know. He can have very low output in his strikes and just looking for openings and whatnot. Or else you can see him being a bit more aggressive, you know, letting his hands and feet go just a little more, you know. So there's always that to consider. Chris Weidman's just a solid fighter, you know. He's a good boxer, and his wrestling's so good too, you know. I mean, Machida, as good as takedown defense is, he still got taken down. Like, you know, Dan Henderson ended up on top of him. Phil Davis managed to take him down, and that's arguably how he won the fight. Taking him down at the end of the rounds, something Chris Weidman can do. It's also a curious thing, though. Machida's gone 5 rounds recently, and Chris Weidman hasn't. So there's something to be said there as well, you know. Because I still am not too sure about Weidman's cardio. He's really big for the weight class, first of all, and yeah, it just you know, I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's just unproven at this point. So yeah, that's what makes this fight pretty tough to call. You know, I'm actually gonna go with Machida to win this one, though. I think the way I see it is that Machida beats him up on the feet and defends the takedowns for the victory. Chris Weidman, like I said, really good, elite fighter. He can win it. It's, you know, I'm leaning a little more towards Machida here, just because, like I said, I think he has a better stand-up and should be able to defend the takedowns. Also against a guy that primarily boxes, Machida tends to do relatively well against them. He's got that, like, countering boxing a lot of times. Something like the Rashad Evans fight, for example. I mean, he's good at avoiding punch. And actually the Gegard Mousasi fight, because Gegard was mainly throwing hands. He's just good at avoiding punches and finding openings, using movement to find his openings and whatnot. So I'm gonna lean towards towards Lyoto Machida to win that one. Okay, next fight after that, Ronda Rousey fights Alexis Alligator Davis. Well, Ronda Rousey, 9-0 undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 8 wins by sub. She's only 27 years old, training out of Team Highest End and the Glendale Fighting Club. She is a finisher, has never been to decision, a judo Olympian. Her grappling's really strong, her clinch is super strong, her dirty boxing has greatly improved. You saw her finish Sarah McMahon with knees from the clinch. She's really working on that game. Obviously, her go-to move on the ground are arm bars. She's a strong scrambler. You can see that in the Miesha Tate fights. Boxing is improving, but her stand-up defense still sucks. So she has no sense of range whatsoever. I mean, she did like everyone I've seen her fight. Even if the fight lasts 30 seconds, she still gets hit clean in the face, like at least once. And she's never been past the 3rd round, and only been past the 1st round in one of her fights against Miesha Tate. She's also just a really good athlete as well. Alexis Davis, 16-5 record, 2 wins by KO/TKO, 7 wins by sub. She also has 2 losses by KO/TKO, and she's 29 years old on a 5-fight win streak. She trains out of Cesar Gracie, but if I'm not mistaken, I think for this fight, but I heard that she's training with Team Alpha Male, if I'm not mistaken. I say this about Alexis Davis, and I'm sticking to it. You know, this is for the women's bantamweight title. I'm sticking to it. I think she is top 3, if not the #1 most well-rounded female fighter out there. She is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with really strong back control. She's good at taking the back, and just her overall back control is good. She's also good off her back as well. She'll throw the high guard, triangle chokes, and whatnot from her back. She has good Muay Thai. You got to see that against like Liz Carmouche. She went for leg kicks there. She does use knees from the Thai, from the Thai plum. She's actually a pretty good wrestler as well. And one thing, 2 X factors are she's really game and resilient. I mean, she gets hit. Her stand-up defense is really bad, but she just keeps coming forward. So she's always pushing forward. Despite, like, you see the Carmouche fight, she's totally bleeding all over her face, wearing the proverbial crimson mask, you know. And she still pushes forward. Same against, like, Sarah Kaufman. Even against Jessica I mean, she doesn't really move backwards. So she's really resilient. One thing that hurts Alexis Davis, and that's going to really hurt in this fight, Alexis Davis just isn't much of an athlete. You know, she's not nothing she does is like fast twitch or anything like that, or very quick, you know. She's technically sound. She's not particularly quick. Ronda Rousey, you know, is very athletic. She can get the clinch really quickly, use high amplitude throws and whatnot. And that's the thing too. As good as, you know, the best I can see Davis do in this fight, not get armbarred and not get finished. I can see her going to decision. I can't really see her taking rounds. I can't see Alexis Davis stopping, getting thrown. I don't know if how well she'll handle getting dirty box from the clinch. So I think she can survive on the ground. She is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. You know, I want to say that she's not. You know, I don't think she'll get armbarred if it does hit the ground. It's MMA though. You know what I mean? Punches open up submission opportunities, you know. I gotta go with Ronda Rousey to win this one. I think the only X factor against Rousey would be her schedule. She's fighting a lot, but she's also doing a lot of movies, you know, Expendables, Fast and the Furious, and the thing, you know, one thing that what I read about her, she only does 6-week training camps. You know, a lot of other fighters will do 3-month training camps. Which is like 12-week camps. Rousey only does 6-week training camps, which I found really interesting. But otherwise, I just, there's a lot of offense from Ronda Rousey that I just can't see Alexis Davis stopping. So I gotta go with Ronda Rousey to win that one. Next fight, I thought Mitrione fights Stefan Struve. Okay, Mitrione has a 7-3 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by decision. He's 35 years old, training out the Brazilians. One thing that's, I mean, he won his last fight against Sean Jordan. He knocked Sean Jordan out, but he's actually only won 2 of his last 5 fights. He lost to Shab, Congo, and Roy Nelson. So he is a good kickboxer with really heavy hands. He moves well for his size, but his takedown defense is not very good. Stefan Struve, 25-6 record, 7 wins by KO TKO, 16 wins by sub. He also has 5 losses by KO TKO. He's only 26 years old, and he is 7 foot, or billed as being 7 foot. So he's definitely gonna have. It's funny, he has a height advantage and a reach advantage, but he's notorious. He's really well known not to use it. I mean, this is a guy that Mark Hunt did a more or less jumping left hook. You know, like, it wasn't even a long left hook and beat him. Roy Nelson managed to get his trademark overhand right on him. I mean, the thing with Struve is he had a heart problem, so he last fought in March 2013. So you know, you gotta wonder about the layoff and the recovery. He does have some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, really good off his back. He'll throw really long legs. So he'll throw like triangles and arm bars off his back. His stand-up offensively, it's good, and he's something of a pressure fighter too. But his stand-up defense is terrible. I mean, I would definitely put him with like Joe Warren and just guys that just have to get hit clean at least once in their fight. I mean, he has 5 losses by KO or TKO out of 6 losses. And that's because, despite being really tall, he does not have good defense. I mean, it's just really bad. Against a guy like Mitrione, who hits hard, I don't know how well that's gonna work out for Struve. That's why this fight becomes really interesting in that sense. You know, Mitrione's not like he's like a mid-level heavyweight, you know. Stefan Struve has wins over like Stipe Miocic. It's one of his best wins. You know, he's shown potential for top 10. So that's the thing. Like, if we're going, I think Struve's higher ranked, you know. I can't help but just look at that, know that his stand-up defense is that bad, knowing he's coming off a layoff due to heart, some sort of heart complications. That's it. And Mitrione, while he's not like an elite fighter, he's a good kickboxer, trains with a camp that's really polished his kickboxing, and he is heavy-handed. Because of that, I'm gonna go with Mitrione. And let's just say that the layoff didn't exist, and that this was just Steph Struve versus Mitrione, no layoff. The biggest problem with Struve is he still has the really bad stand-up defense. He doesn't fight, doesn't use his reach really well. He kind of fights in the inside, He uses knees and stuff, but it's more on the inside than anything else. He's just hittable, I'd maybe lean towards Struve without the other factors, and that's just a maybe. I'd still kind of lean towards Mitrione. I'm gonna go with Mitrione to beat Struve. It's tough though, because Mitrione, like I said, he's kind of mid-level, Struve's shown to be something a little higher than level at times, but I think there's a couple things against Struve here. Maybe, I'll go Mitrione to win that one. Next fight, Uriah Hall fights Marreta Santos. Well, Santos a 9-inch record, 5 wins by Tico, 1 win by sub, 30 years old. He has some good stand-up. Really, he has good kicks as shown, and his big upset over Honey Mark. Body kick tough, dropped him with a body kick, Before that, he lost to Caesar with punch for He actually got overrided and detained, so not the greatest look. Hall, 8-4 record, 5 wins by Tico, 2 sub. He's 29 years. He has good Muay Thai. His counter wrestling is good. He's taken down. He's generally held down there. His offensive takedowns aren't pretty solid, like John had. The biggest with Uriah Hall, he has athletic gifts. The skill's there. Mentally, he's not there. It's just, he is a hard fighter. He's like a fighter. Doesn't look taking the fight seriously, harming his opponents. It's just mentally he's just not there. That's why it's kind of hard to skill-wise. I think he's better than Santos. Probably the better athlete too. Otherwise, it's just he doesn't. He's a guy that could either look really good or really disappoint you, one or the other. He lost to Gastelum in a fight he probably should have won. Gastelum's tough though, and Gastelum's turned out to be a really good prospect at welterweight. But yeah, so that's the thing, Santos does have that upset over Honey Marks. But I'm going to go with Uriah Hall to win this one. Mental issues aside, I think he is the more skilled fighter. Probably the better athlete, like I said. But, man, yeah, mentally, he needs some work. And next fight, I thought Marcus Brimage fights Russell Doane. Marcus Brimage, 6-2 record, 2 wins by KO Tico, 4 wins by decision. He's 29 years old, training out of ATT. He last fought on April 2013. I think that was a loss to Conor McGregor, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% sure. He does have good boxing, and he's shown some pretty good takedown defense. I believe this fight's at 135, and it's going to be his first cut to 135. I remember on the show, on The Ultimate Fighter, he actually had difficulty cutting down to 145. So this cut is actually kind of interesting because he never seemed that small from 145. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Russell Doane, 13-3 record, 6 wins by KO, 5 wins by sub. He most recently subbed, I believe it's Leandro Issa, and that was a really, by triangle choke. You know, that was a really good guy to submit. He has 2 losses by submission. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Solid fighter, you know, just good stand-up, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Both these guys are interesting prospects. I was pretty high on, after I went over Doane's last one, I was pretty high on the guy, actually. You know, he just showed solid skills all around. Brimage, like I said, he does have some good stand-up. It's going to be hard to take down. Don't know how his cut's going to go to 135. Hasn't fought in a while. But, you know what, I'm going to go with Russell Doane here, you know. I think he's a solid enough prospect. I think, you know, he's pretty good on the feet himself. You know, he can scrap. And his ground skills, if he can get the fight to the ground, should be better than Brimage's. So, yeah, I'll go with Russell Doane to win that one. On to the prelims. Alex Caceres fights Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber has a 30-7 record, 7 wins by KO, 17 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO. He's 35 years old, training out of Team Alpha Male. He's a strong wrestler, really strong ground and pound, strong top control. I mean, he's the type of guy, if he takes you down, he can really keep you down. Yeah. He's really strong in the scrambles as well. I mean, he's a guy that's really hard to keep on the ground as well if you can get him down there. He has a really strong guillotine, trademark of Team Alpha Male. His cardio is really good. He can go 5 rounds at a steady pace the whole time. He's gone 5 rounds for 4. He's gone 5 rounds with no thumbs, pretty much. I mean, against like Mike Thomas Brown, he started elbowing because like he broke one thumb. And he broke it, I don't know, his other hand or something like that. It was pretty cool. Stand-up's getting a lot, you know, under Ludwig. It was getting better. You kind of saw it. And he's always pushing forward. Alex Caceres, 10-5 record with 1 no contest, 2 wins by KO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by submission. He's 26 years old. He's real tall and on a 2-fight win streak, training out of the MMA lab with the likes of like Benson Henderson. He's real tall and lanky. He's 5'9" and 135. His stand-up's really been improving. He showed some really good movement in those last couple fights as well. His stand-up defense still has a lot to be desired. Edwin Figueroa's managed to hit him clean. Ronda Rousey hit him clean. Sergio Pettis hit him clean. Win or lose, he gets hit clean a lot. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has really been improving as well, especially his back control. He's really good at taking the back and working from there. However, he's fighting Uriah Faber. I mean, this is the guy, Faber, who beats everyone except the champion, pretty much. And I think this fight's no exception. I think Faber's a much better wrestler. Should be able to keep Caceres on the ground. Arguably the better striker. I mean, maybe. That's kind of, you know, at least I think he is an equally good striker. I think Faber's the better overall jiu-jitsu practitioner as well. And speaking of back control, man, Faber's back control isn't that bad either. I mean, the win over Menjivar, Scott Jorgensen, Takeo Mizugaki. I mean, this guy, Rafael Santos even. Man, this guy, when he sees the back, he jumps at it. Like, literally. Like, standing on the ground, I mean, he'll jump on a guy's back. So he has a really good back control as well, too. I got to go with Uriah Faber to win that one. And next fight after that, we have Kenny Robertson versus Ildemar Alcantara. Alcantara has a 20-6 record, 10 wins by KO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO. He's 31 years old. You know, the thing with Alcantara is he's kind of a middle-of-the-road guy. I mean, he has a good clinch. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually pretty solid. You know, he trains with his brother. He can work the leg locks, you know, and whatnot. His striking's kind of average. It's not great or anything like that. Kenny Robertson, 13-3 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. He's 30 years old. He's trading wins and losses. Most recently beat Thiago Perpetua, just beating him up bad too and submitted him. Robertson's a pretty good wrestler, solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, pretty creative too. You know, he went for that weird leg lock on is it Proctor Dean or something like that? I forgot on him. Striking's average, you know, it's not great, but it's not that bad. He's also pretty relentless about getting his takedowns as well. I'll go with Kenny Robertson to win this one. I think he might be able to take the fight to the ground. Maybe make, you know, this fight may get pretty ugly real fast too. That's the thing. But I'll go with Kenny Robertson to win that one. Okay. Next fight after that, Chris Camozzi fights Bruno Santos. Camozzi's interesting because I always pick against the guy. I have a hard time picking this guy to win, to be honest with you. He's a guy that's good everywhere, but not great anywhere. He doesn't move very, you know, he's not the most mobile guy. He has a 19-7 record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by submission, 27 years old on a 6. He's 6'3", so he's pretty big for a weight class. On a 2-fight losing streak. Stand-up's good. His Muay Thai's been improving. His wrestling's not too bad. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's not too bad. He's got a good chin as well. Once a Lawrence Larkin fight, that guy was getting beat. Camozzi was getting beat up bad. Managed to survive. Bruno Santos, 13-1 record, 1 win by TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 26 years old. He's 5'9" compared to Camozzi's 6'3". But he is a grinder. He's a good wrestler with really good top control. It just really depends. Can Camozzi stop the takedowns or not? I mean, it's really what it comes down to, you know. I'm going to go Santos. I think he can grind the fight out. It's really tough to say because Camozzi has a way of surprising me. So I can't say I'm like super confident in this pick because he tends to rise above my expectations a lot of times. This makes me kind of lean towards Camozzi, to be honest with you. Well, Bruno Santos fought Christoph Jocko and lost in that fight. I think he got dropped there. You know what? I'll stick with Bruno Santos. I think he can grind out a victory here. Yeah, next fight after that. Another guy that's hard for me to pick. George Roop versus Rob. George Roop, 15-10 record on draw, 4 wins KO TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO TKO, 4 losses Bubba. He's 30 years old, and he's 35, but he's 6'1". Training out of Apex MMA with the likes of like Ed West. Real tall, lanky guy. Got some good stand-ups, stand-up, good kicks. Stand-up defense sells. I mean, you can watch, he gets dropped a lot or hit clean a lot. I mean, Swanson and it's knock him out. Francisco Rivera wins his knockout. Brian Bowles, despite he lost at Roop, but he managed to knock down with an overhead. He guy sticks his chin out really bad. It's with his feet sometimes. Stand-up defense bad. Roop's takedown defense is actually pretty good. And actually has some pretty ready ground skills. He was probably against Camaro. Just get top control and use some good ground pound on him. Rob on 10-win record, 3 wins by TKO, 3 wins by sub. Compared to George Roop 6'1", Fawn's 5'8". Fawn has a 9-fight win streak. It's his first fight in the C. Training at Team Sit Down. He has a train down there. Patrick Tay and Marcus Davis. I don't know if they down there, but you know they are one. This is a real trainer. I think any out of it all. Time. We trained all them. I was last fight. One is Tristan, and I really liked what I saw from him. Showed good kickboxing, showed body striking, his use of combinations was good too. Kind of makes, here's the thing with George Roop, and what I got a beat on with the guy, when he goes up against guys that are primarily grappling based, he tends to win. But if he goes up against like some really heavy-handed strikers, Cub Swanson, Francisco Rivera, he tends to lose. The thing with Rob Font, I wouldn't say he's heavy-handed, you know, but he did knock out Tristan Johnson clean. So he does have some power. And I remember what they were saying in the commentary is that Font did fight tall fighters as well and did really well against them. So that should be interesting as well. Like I said, I liked what I saw from Font, but man, George Roop is a tough first fight in the UFC. The guy's fought a lot of good guys in various weight divisions. And, you know, George Roop's a guy that can be pretty hot and cold as well. You know, that's the thing with Roop. But I usually don't pick him to win, but I'm going to go with Roop. If things get hairy on the feet, I think he might even be able to take the fight to the ground and use that ground and pound like he did against Justin Kimura, possibly. Roop's also just big for the weight class. Besides being tall, like, he's big. I think he has some pretty big, I think he had like big legs or something like that. That's the thing. So yeah, I'll go with George Roop to win that one. Got on to prelims. It's over on the UFC Fight Pass. Kevin Casey fights William Bubba Bush. Let's go on Bubba Bush. Bubba Bush, 8-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 28 years old on a 4-fight win streak. That's his first fight in the UFC. He's a good wrestler. He also has really good clinch takedowns. Some solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills as well. He was the legacy middleweight champion. He's fighting Kevin Casey, who was the RFA, or the last RFA middleweight champion. Kevin Casey, 8-3 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. He's on a 3-fight win streak, training out of Black House. He has some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's really strong. The guy's ripped. His stand-up's improving. If he actually wants to fight, his last fight in RFA, he knocked out his opponent to win the middleweight title. But his cardio sucks, man. I mean, you can watch a lot of his fights, whether it's like Matt Lenlin, where he looks pretty good in like the first round. Watch a Josh Saman fight when Kevin Casey's only UFC fight up until now. Like he gets Josh Saman a really tight triangle choke, and then he just gets pounded out and loses. You know, so his cardio's not very good. Otherwise, I think Kevin Casey's probably the better has a better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it's tough for me to call, because Bubba Bush actually looks pretty good. I've seen him on, like some Access TV fights and whatnot. He actually looks pretty good too. So it's really tough for me to say. I'm leaning a little more towards Casey. Like I said, I think Casey might be the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Might be even in the stand-up. It's really tough to say. Bush is probably the better wrestler, though. Kevin Casey's not a bad wrestler himself, though. So, I'll go with Kevin Casey to win that one. Okay, and finally, Guilherme Vasconcelos fights Luke Zachrich. Well, Zachrich has a 13-3 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's 32 years old. Yeah, his first fight in the UFC, he gets knocked out by Kyle Magalesh, pretty bad, too, He's not the most athletic guy. He's got a good clinch, decent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. But Vasconcelos only has a 3-1 record, but 1 win by TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's on a 2-fight win streak. It's his first fight in the UFC. He came from the Ultimate Fighter Brazil Season 3, actually. He lost to Ricardo Abreu. He has some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's a good scrambler. Stand-up's decent. His stand-up defense I saw one of his fights. He was getting hit clean a good amount of times. So, but I think Vasconcelos is going to be the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner here. Doesn't have nearly as many fights, but interesting. You have a 3-1 guy versus a guy who has a 13-3 record. But, you know, it looks like the UFC saw a lot in Vasconcelos, so I'll go with Guilherme Vasconcelos to win that one. Okay, to recap, on the main card, I have Lyoto Machida beating Chris Weidman, Ronda Rousey over Alexis Davis, Mitrione over Stefan Struve, Uriah beating Thiago Marreta Santos, and Russell Doane over Marcus Brimage. On the prelims, Uriah Faber beating Alex Caceres, Kenny Robertson over Ildemar Alcantara, Bruno Santos over Chris Camozzi, and George Roop over Rob Font. And on the Fight Pass prelims, I have Kevin Casey beating Bubba Bush and Guilherme Vasconcelos over Luke Zachrich. So that's pretty much it for my predictions for UFC 175 Weidman versus Machida. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.